Hello there, my name is Neville Bowman. Today I'll be interviewing Gilles Parenteau, an active producer, writer, and performer in today's modern music world. We'll be discussing his new show, One Man Symphony, and finding out just a little bit more about how it works and how he makes it happen. Welcome to the show, Gilles.
Hi.
I've heard your music described as a perfect marriage between technology and artistry. Is One Man Symphony a continuation of this concept?
Well, I'd like to think so. It's a statement basically hard to live to. I'd like to be able to say that I'll continue on doing this, which is basically there's a lot of gear here on stage, but really my aim is not a technical show. It's not a keyboard demonstration. These are simply mean to an end where I can express what I have to say musically. So therefore music is really what comes first. These are just what today's technology has to offer, and I'm trying to make best use of it.
I noticed that perhaps the instrument itself goes a little bit beyond what you would call standard technology today. You've employed the use of pedals in it. Why would you do this? You've gone beyond what most traditional modern keyboardists use.
This concept here basically comes from the one of practice what I've learned in classical pipe organ, to be able to use both my feet, point and heels. Therefore I get so much more possibilities to be able to cover in a live situation, which is a challenge, and that's what really thrills me about that instrument. Is now there's so many things that's opened up. So what we did is actually because there's no such thing on the market, myself and my brother-in-law, we bought a bass pedal board of an old B3, which is an old organ, and we modified the circuit board, we rebuilt that, and we connected that pedal board into this keyboard on top here. And that keyboard now, just recently, I found a way to make it communicate with the rest of my keyboards, so now again it opens a whole new field.
No, okay. Most people were familiar, of course, with the use of pedals on organs, pipe organs, and especially modern electronic organs. You yourself are a finalist, were a finalist in the Yamaha Electone Festival for modern electronic organ. Why did you go to the trouble of engineering your own system when you had the modern electronic organs right there?
Well, I found that those organs, as great they are, and I believe they still are making some of them, they're quite expensive, but nevertheless, for me, they were still limited. Like the bass pedal board was doing bass notes only. Now, as we'll demonstrate a little later, I can have flute, I can have drums, I can have anything I want of those pedals, which totally brings a totally new dimension to the instrument. As well as those pedals, the way this instrument works now, for me, it means basically total freedom and to be able to be totally versatile in anything I want. It's me and the computer. We're kind of a team. I'm trying to do as much music as I can, and the computer is helping me to change the sounds for me, to reallocate the keyboards and etc. So it's a whole new dimension from those organs.
Well, I know that in the opening clips, which were examples from your show, and in the following clip, which is a familiar piece to all of us, the Winter Games theme by David Foster, we can see that how with the pedals you can almost literally become a one-man symphony.
Well, yes, some people may sound pretentious, but that's the best title I could find for the show as far as description of it. And again, I'd really like to outline, well, I'm not trying to replace musicians. That's not the idea. The idea is this is my way of making music. This is called plastic. It's made out of chips. But I think no matter what you play, whether you play a recorder or a flute or a saxophone, it's not the instrument itself. Like, give me a flute and there's not much going to come out of it.
Yes.
But with this, that's my way of expressing music to my mind and my thoughts. I can almost think out loud.
Okay, great. Well, let's take a look at this next clip. So Gilles, to most people looking at this is a very impressive, if not somewhat daunting setup. Without getting too technical, can you give us a little bit of an explanation of how these things talk to each other?
Okay, what we have here basically is what we're seeing actually as far as keyboards themselves. Maybe like there's 4 here, there's 1 here, there's a remote control here. But in reality, there are over 15 keyboards in this setup. Sometimes they're in form of brains, what they call. So basically they have no keys, but they're just the brains of a keyboard. And some of those keyboards themselves can be split within 16 keyboards. It gives you a tremendous selection of sounds and possibilities.
Yeah.
Therefore, for me, while I'm playing, it's impossible to change the sound on each keyboard. It's just too complex. That's why I've got my friend there, Mr. Atari,
Which does it for you?
Which does it for me. Like there's certain parts, for example, I may not be able to cover the drums, so that it's gonna play the drums. I'll play all the other parts. Therefore, I may want to play the drums, and they'll switch over and play some other parts to complement the tune. And basically, what it's doing for me is it's changing all the sounds while I'm playing. So therefore, I can be playing, and then all of a sudden it's a piano. It goes to strings, it goes to flute, but I don't have to stop playing.
So when it gets just too hard to play all the parts, or virtually impossible to play all the parts, you can assign certain commands to the computer.
That's what I was saying earlier. This whole setup gives me complete freedom. And as far as if I feel like standing up and play solo on my remote and just play the one-handed solo, then it can just take over for me, and I'll be able to express myself a different way. Also, there's the second dimension of this whole thing, which says not only changing the sound, but which keyboard talks to what keyboard.
Could you give us some examples of that?
Well, just like the winter games I just played, I'm playing the piano over here,
Yes.
but the piano comes from that keyboard over there, and not this one. This one is not even plugged in. All it's doing is just communicating to the other one. Example of bass pedals that we were talking about, like right now, I've got a bass sound, which is the most common thing basically to hear, except this bass sound is coming from this keyboard here.
Yeah.
And so now it's talking to the M1, where I can switch it back, and let's say I can go to a Proteus in the back and do a flute.
And yet, like, these keyboards are obviously not made by all the same companies, and they can still speak to each other.
Well, through MIDI, and that's what allows them to interconnect between one another. The technology today goes so fast, it's hard to keep up with it. But with this setup is totally flexible and allows new technology to come in. I can hook those pedals to any other keyboards. The more keyboards I get, the more possibilities.
Wow.
It's this instrument, I think what I would call it is basically a year 2000 version of a pipe organ. When they first built the pipe organ, it was to recreate an orchestra. And I think this does that very well as well.
Wow. So how much of modern music is performed in this way? I know we're all familiar with pop songs that we hear on the radio. We can hear obvious uses of synthesizers. But perhaps in less obvious uses, film scoring, commercial writing, things like that, how much of that is done in this way?
Well, I think for a lot of people, we don't realize how much music we hear to the TV or radio that is made through one man only. It's a sad thing in many circumstances because the budgets are getting smaller, therefore we have to replace people with machines. But personally, what I like the best is the combination of both.
I know we have 2 clips here of your own work. One was initially for a series, another one is a current work that you're still doing. One from a series called Beyond the Line. Can you give us a little bit of explanation on this before we see it?
Beyond the Line was a TV series with Laurier Lapierre was hosting that. It was kind of like a new age sort of TV show. It was a great show for me to do. I brought the opening today that I'd like to present, and it's just an example where basically all the sounds are coming from one guy, and it's You have to match the pictures, which is really neat. And basically, I can run the pictures through my TV, hook it up to the computer, they lock in together, and then you just build on the music onto the pictures. Great. Which is a lot of fun. But then it's kind of behind the curtain sort of work. But I really like doing that sort of work.
Well, great. Can we take a look at that clip now? So that was a pretty impressive piece of music. It must have been quite a bit of work on that series.
Yeah, well, especially when you do it for the opening itself, you tend to put a lot of work on it because you know it's going to play every time. And within, I don't know how long that it was, about maybe 40 seconds, but it's over 60 tracks of music in there on that.
Great. So let's take a look at this next clip. It's a current piece you're working on. Can you give us a little bit of background on it?
Yeah, basically it's a windsurfing sport project, and it's a trailer for it, and it's about a minute or a minute and 15 seconds or so. And that one is totally different because it's a lot of fun action shots. Yeah. It starts in a serious manner sort of thing, so that the mood shift is was a lot of fun to do.
So both of these pieces were totally original music of your own?
Yes.
Okay, great. How much original music are you using in your show?
I'm trying to balance it out between playing some other people's tunes, like the Foster tune, and do some arrangement maybe of other tunes, and at the same time to insert my own original piece, which I'm very curious to see the crowd's reaction on that. And because if you never heard a piece, it's not the same thing as if you're familiar with one thing. Hopefully they'll like it.
Right. Can we hear one of your own original pieces?
With pleasure.
Great. So far we've heard a very popular piece, David Foster's '88 Winter Olympics theme, and we've heard one of your original pieces called Whole New Sight. Does the layout of the show follow this idea of popular music with some of your own works?
Yes, I think that's basically the goal of the show, is to be able to give to the public, the audience, tunes they're familiar with, at the same time introduce new material they haven't heard before, and hopefully that they will like.
Great. So I guess the final question is, where do you want to take One Man Symphony?
Well, for me, it's a totally new step to do a solo act for myself. I've been playing for a lot of people, writing music for a lot of people, but never really trying to do my own thing. And I just want to see how the public is going to react to it. If there's a good relationship developing, then who knows, that might be a whole new side to my career.
Great. Well, I know as a fellow musician this will be a very exciting step in your career, so we can wish you good luck on this one, and thanks for being with us today.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. We're going to close now with Bach's Prelude in D minor, with a more adventurous arrangement by Gilles Parenteau. So, thanks for watching, and fasten your seatbelts. This one's worth watching.